Welcome back. I'm getting ready to head off to Chicago tomorrow for the first time in, I think, since 2000, maybe in 1999. Been there a couple times throughout the 90s. Really love Chicago. Obviously, a lot of great music, a lot of great labels, and I'll be there for a couple of days, so looking forward to that. Thinking of Chicago got me thinking about the movie High Fidelity, which I believe the remake or the today version, which is airing on Hulu, I believe premieres tomorrow, maybe the 14th or 15th. But it got me thinking about the original High Fidelity with John Cusack and Jack Black, Tim Robbins, a couple others. One of my favorite movies. I've seen it many, many times. I could relate to a lot of it, and it got me thinking about singles. They talk a lot about their favorite singles and making mixtapes. Some great scenes with Jack Black. So I decided to dive into some of my 7 inches or 45s. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna show you some of my favorites, a few 7-inch box sets that I love, and I will finally fulfill my promise of closing these with a record that I wish more people knew about, which I said I was gonna do early on in this series of videos, but have not come through on. I had forgotten that I made that promise, so I've got one ready. So we'll close with that. But why don't we take a look at some of the singles, the 45s that I love, and little stories that are sort of attached to them. First one is this beautiful single by Brian Henneman from the Bottle Rockets, a band that I should have mentioned in my alt country video, but did not. He obviously leads the Bottle Rockets, who are still around. He was in Wilco on the first record, AM. But the track is Indianapolis, which is a phenomenal song, just a great straight-ahead rock and roll song. Next track is Get Down, which I believe is also Get Down River, and Wave That Flag. This is hard to find. Dutch East India came out in 1992. I found it in a record store many, many years ago, and love it. Indianapolis, fantastic song. Next, same period, similar bands. Brian Henneman actually plays on this. Didn't know that until I looked right now. Came out in Rockville Records in 91. The Uncle Tupelo original single to Gun, or For Gun, with the cover, the Soft Boys cover, I Want to Destroy You, as the B-side. This is awesome. I spent years and years looking for Uncle Tupelo 7 inches. I finally got them all. And right after I got them, or a couple years after I got them all, and probably paid way too much money for them, they were all reissued on Record Store Day. That seems to be a theme here. I've mentioned that a few times. Sunvolt's Trace, same story. So a great one. This one I love for the packaging. I also love the artist and the song on the A side of this. Doug Somm, the Sir Douglas Quintet, came in this beautiful gatefold for a 45. Came out in 2013 on Sundays, which is a phenomenal label that does a lot of great reissues. This is a beautiful one. Mendocino, what a great track. Next, I just love this song, and I love this artist. He's mostly known for his work with the old 97s, but a lot of his solo records are fantastic, and I've never heard much they haven't really hit the masses in the way that the old 97s sort of did. Not really, but I just think he deserves more credit for his solo material. Rhett Miller, lead singer of the old 97s. This song is Help Me Suzanne. Love this track from the album The Believer. There's a French version of the song Question, which is the old 97's track that is about proposing to somebody, proposing marriage to somebody. I always said if I ever got married, I'd probably use that song. Hasn't happened yet. No need for that song yet. But this is Help Me Suzanne's a tremendous song. Rhett Miller, what a talent, what a songwriter, and just consistently for many, many years puts out great, great records. Next, this might be my favorite single. This is the Camera Obscura single for the song The Sweetest Thing, and the B-side is Tougher Than the Rest, the Bruce Springsteen cover. One of my favorite Bruce Springsteen covers, and there are many great ones, but this, there was a video that I don't think is on YouTube anymore of Camera Obscura performing this, and the lead singer, whose name escapes me, she just looked very, very nervous performing a Springsteen cover, and right when it ends, she kind of looks to the band and to the producer for to see if they were okay with it. She has this kind of nervous look on her face, and it's a tremendous cover. So she nailed it, and I hope she knows that. It's one of my favorites. I listen to it all the time. Camera Obscura. Now that's a great band. Check them out. Let's Get Out of the Country is, I believe that's the title, is probably my favorite record of theirs. Great, great artist. Getting into the Wilco stuff. No surprise. This is a 7-inch by a band called Courtesy Move, which contained all members of Wilco minus Jeff Tweedy. A song called California, it's a great track. So it's Jay Bennett, John Sturrett, Ken Coomer, additional players Robert Lowe, I don't know who that is. Bob Egan was in Wilco, and Tim Lorch on fiddle, don't know him either. This came out a long, long time ago. Doesn't even have a date on it. It's probably around 94 or so. Courtesy Move. A lot of people don't know that this even exists. But I got it right when it came out, and I'm glad I did. Not easy to find, and it's this cool white vinyl. So I'm glad I have this. Continuing, as I said, we're just getting into the Wilco Uncle Tupelo stuff. This just came out last record store day. The Cruel to Be Kind. Nick Lowe, 7-inch, performing the song on the B-side with Wilco from 2012. And A-side is the original 45 single version. I love Nick Lowe, everything he does. I love how they have this picture of him when he's pretty young on the back, and then a picture of him today. One of my most coveted artists, Nick Lowe, just puts out great, great records and has for a very long time, and he's such a cool guy. So that's another great one. Here's one that I haven't checked Discogs, but I'd be surprised if anybody has this, or maybe just a handful of people. Ithaca Gin was a band, I believe they're from Kentucky. I got this because Jay Farrar from Uncle Tupelo and Sunvolt produced it. I somehow found out about it. It's in 1994. I don't know if Ithaca Gin ever did anything else outside of this. It's called Kentucky. These are good tracks. I haven't listened to this single in years and years, but I'm gonna throw it on after this. But a really, really rare 7-inch at John Keene's studio in Athens. Yeah, 1994. Thanks Jay Farrar, John Sturrett for his support. Try to find this somewhere. Won't be easy. Blue Mountain. This is the Mary Jane and the Day They Tore Down the Hippie Hotel 7-inch. Also pretty hard to find, I would say. Fave Records. Blue Mountain, one of my favorite bands from this period. This is also 1994. Seems like that's a big year for me when I started really collecting. That is the year that I discovered Uncle Tupelo. as I mentioned in a previous video. So I went on a crazy sort of record consumption run from 94, 95, where I was buying tons of CDs and vinyl, and there was just so much music I was discovering. Blue Mountain, one of my favorites in that period. Still one of my favorites. Such a great band. This has been reissued a number of times, and I get it every time it comes out, just because it's one of my favorite 7-inch covers, and it's Chris Bell, who is so dear to me. This is the You and Your Sister single with I Am the Cosmos on the B-side, or the flip side. I Am the Cosmos with You and Your Sister as the B-side. I have 2 copies of this. They're different reissues. I've been wanting to try and get an original of this. They're very hard to come by, and they're very expensive. So I probably won't be doing that now, but someday I'd like to have that in my collection. So if anybody's thinking about my birthday in November, it's coming up in November. Chris Bell. This I just have to cite because I just love this song so much. Richard and Linda Thompson, Don't Renege on Our Love. This was a single from their classic album Shoot Out the Lights, which I mentioned on a previous video, which they recorded while going through a divorce, I believe. And this track is just an all-time favorite. Not much more to say about it. Don't Renege on Our Love. Check it out. Richard and Linda Thompson. This was one of those finds when I was starstruck, awestruck, something struck. When I found it, it was in Amoeba Records in San Francisco maybe 10 years ago. I didn't know it existed. It's one of my favorite bands from the 90s, one of my favorite bands ever. Six String Drag, Bottle of Blues, the A-side, such a great track. And Loreen, the B-side. This beautiful sort of cardboard packaging, really cool design on the front. I love this band. I love Kenny Roby. He's put out a bunch of solo records. They're all great. So whatever streaming service you're on, listen to Kenny. I think that I'm on Apple Music, and there was recently a Kenny Roby / Six String Drag compilation that I found on Apple Music. I highly recommend it. It's both his music with this band and solo. It's a spectacular collection. It's like many songs, like 15 or 20 songs. Check it out. You won't regret it, and you will find a new great band. The last 2 singles, before I get into the box sets, I mentioned previously. The Songs for Slim collection. These are the 7 inches that the Replacements worked on to benefit Slim Dunlap after he had a stroke. This one is signed by Jacob Dylan and Joe Henry. This is one of my prized possessions. And Taken on the Chin by Joe Henry. Man, that's a great cover. All these are covers of Slim Dunlap songs. Mostly, I think they're all his solo songs. I have 2. The next one is the -5 and Tim O'Regan Songs for Slim. This is not signed, but another great addition. I'd like to get all of these at some point. I think there were 4 or 6. Birthday coming up in November. That's it for singles. Now my box sets. I'm going to start with one that I opened yesterday after having for a couple of years. When did this come out? I don't know when it was reissued. But this is one of my favorite hip-hop artists. When I was in high school, I went through a pretty intense early hip-hop period when I was playing basketball. Yep, I used to play basketball. Played for a year in high school and bailed because it was too stressful for me. Northern New Jersey, suburban basketball, super stressful. But during that period, I was hanging out with my buddy Dan. We were listening to a lot of great music. He was turning me on to one artist after another. This was one of them, Boogie Down Productions, Criminal Minded. These guys were one of my favorites, KRS-One. I've been meaning for years to see KRS-One. He plays in San Francisco from time to time, and I've never made it to one of his shows, and I would really like to go. This is a great box set. It's pretty much no frills. You open it up, and it's just the singles. But I love it. It's one of those that just pumps me up when I see that I have this. Pumps me up. BDP, we called them. This is my most treasured, maybe across all of my records, in the top 5. Certainly across singles, there's nothing that compares. My buddy Brian told the story, sent this to me after I'd mentioned it to him because he had 2 copies and I got shut out on Record Store Day. This is Songs Ohio, a collection of singles of Jason Molina's Songs Ohio, 1995 to 2002. I want to open this so badly, but I don't know that I ever will. It's just one of the few that I just can't get myself to pull the shrink wrap off of, because I treasure it so much. It's so beautifully designed and just a gorgeous, gorgeous box set. Thanks again, Brian. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this one. It's very kind of you. I haven't opened this either, the TRex Electric Warrior 7-inch box set that was put out by the phenomenal Rhino Records in 2012. This was a Record Store Day exclusive, so I bought it 8 years ago, and it's still unopened. Might open it someday, but I listen to TRex all the time. I have a couple of the 2, Slider and Electric Warrior on vinyl. I listen to them all the time, and also I stream his it's good driving music. Mark Bolan, TRex, this is a great one. This I just got. It was sort of on the run. I was walking out of a local record store, and saw this, and just one of those spontaneous grabs at the last minute. David Bowie's Space Oddity. Looks like I haven't opened this yet either. There are 2 singles, Space Oddity, the original mono single edit, and then there's a second one with the 2019 mix. And the B-sides on both are Wild Eyed Boy from Free Cloud. Don't even know what that is. I'll open this soon. I want to give it a listen. David Bowie. And the last one I also just got, and man, is it beautifully packaged. There was a first version of this, which I missed out on. I believe it was on Record Store Day. And I will probably at some point go back and try and find it. But this is Aretha Franklin, the Atlantic singles from 1968. As you can see, it's got this gorgeous packaging. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was priced pretty reasonable given how well this is put together. I think the other one is yellow. It's the same design. It's a very similar design, and I need to pick it up because this is one of my favorites, and I want the other one beside it. I'm gonna listen to this tonight as well. That's it for these singles. I have a couple boxes, but I just quickly scanned through and tried to pull out some that had some meaning to me or had a story attached to it that I wanted to tell. So that's it for the singles, and I will wrap, as promised, with an album that I wish more people knew about. This is an original copy of this record given to me by a very close friend for my birthday. See, people get me records for my birthday. It was maybe 10 years ago. Very hard to find at the time. It was released on Sub Pop. This is their second record, I believe. My favorite. A number of friends of mine cite this, or a few have said that it's either their favorite record of all time or very close. It is fantastic. It is, I should get to it, right? The Scud Mountain Boys, which is Joe Pernice's first band, or the first band that I know that he was in. The record Massachusetts. Some very cool shots on the back. This is a tremendous record. It's lo-fi. It can be a little bit dark, but it's a record that every time it comes on, I'm excited to hear it. I believe this was reissued But again, this is an original Sub Pop. I don't think they pressed many. Came out in 1996. Joe Pernice, as anyone who knows his music, following the Scub Mountain Boys, went on to form the Pernice Brothers. They put out a record this year. They're must be like their 7th or 8th or 6th or 7th. Overcome by Happiness would be my favorite of theirs. Was also on Sub Pop. Joe Pernice is an incredible talent, one of the best songwriters across my collection or across the music that I listen to. He also wrote a book. I believe he lives in Toronto now. I actually have a funny story that just came to mind as I was about to wrap up this video. I remember I was on the F train in Brooklyn going into Manhattan. I believe Pernice lived in Brooklyn at the time as well. I got on and I was wearing an Uncle Tupelo t-shirt, and he was across from me. And he was wearing, I'm pretty sure it was a Smiths t-shirt. And we just kept kind of looking at each other like we knew each other, just because there was some sort of, I knew it was Joe Pernice. He obviously did not know who I was. And I remember I got off before him. I think I got off at West 4th Street in the Village or something. And I sort of just nodded, and he nodded at me. It was like this connection over our t-shirts. So Joe, if you're listening, that was me. The Pernice, not the Pernice Brothers, Scub Mountain Boys, Massachusetts. Check it out. Fantastic record. I will be back next week, as I'm going to be in Chicago for a bunch of days through the weekend. And thanks for watching.